Hello and welcome to What's on Premier League match day 36. Only 3 games to go, Tom, and things have changed because now it looks like Arsenal can get over the line. They are in the Champions League final. They have a good advantage in the Premier League. They look great against Fulham, especially, but solid against Atletico de Madrid, and also in the relegation battle. It looks like it's going to be your West Ham.
Yeah, suddenly from last week where everything seemed on the line, I think last weekend was decisive. At this point, I think Arsenal are going to win the Premier League. I think the Champions League was already set. And West Ham carped it massively in that game against Brentford. So all in all, we might as well go home.
Well, let's see what games we have this weekend, because we have great games still full of surprises, and still everything is open. 5 points between Arsenal and Man City with 1 game in hand for the citizens, and also Tottenham have 1 point more than West Ham. But look at these odds for champions, the outright odds in the Premier League now. Arsenal massive favorites is 1.29, Man City 4.5, and last week was same. So the Gunners are big favorites and are traveling to Budapest. So congratulations if you are a Gunner. So Tom, let's go on with the show. Guys, let me know in the comments. Yes, let me know in the comments your predictions. For instance, for this Liverpool-Chelsea, perhaps are the 2 most disappointing teams this season. I would say so. Chelsea coming from the club, the FIFA Club World Cup with Maresca looking great, and they just crumbled. They are having the worst end of the season ever. 6 consecutive defeats is pitiful performance after pitiful performance against foreigners. They were just really bad. They are 9th now in the league. Luckily for them, at least they have the FA Cup final, remember. And for Liverpool, also for a defending champion, 11 defeats this season. It's a lot. They are still +6 with Bournemouth, but yeah, Tom, I think it's a season to forget for both clubs.
Yeah, but I mean, for Liverpool, look, 18 losses in all competitions across the season is abysmal. It's their most since 2009. At times, they have looked eminently beatable, and across the campaign have not really looked like they knew what they were doing. But I do feel some sympathy with Arne Slot in that his plan was to have Alexander Isak, and he's not had him, and he's not got him again for this weekend. He won't have him again probably the rest of the season. His plan was to have Florian Wirtz behind him, and without Isak, that's not worked. His plan was to have a fit and firing Mo Salah, and Mo Salah has been an irrelevance on the field to this season, really. And I think it's fair to say defensively, they didn't plan for the decline in 𝗗𝗏 and Van Dijk. So, look, the summer went badly. The season's not gone as planned, but it's not been a total disaster in the way Chelsea has, because they're going to be back in the Champions League next year. They'll have the Champions League money. They'll go again. So, disappointment, sure. A great title defense, no. But they'll recover because they haven't had a season as bad as some others. In terms of this weekend, the injury list is growing ever stronger. Alisson may not play for the club again. There's talk of him moving away in the summer. There's other players on the list too, from his backup, Mamardashvili. We've barely seen Conor Bradley this season. Mentioned Isak already. His understudy is 𝗗𝗏𝗧𝗏. He's going to be missing as well. So at this point, I think Liverpool are just desperate for this to end. Just desperate for this to end. There's some talk that maybe there might be Mo Salah for this game, but I think they'll probably just give him one final game at the end of the season, and that'll be that. And even on recent form, should have lost against Crystal Palace, found a way to win, did manage to salvage a respectable scoreline against Man United last week, but probably deserved to lose that game. Tough to bet on them at the moment in any scenario. However, it's even tougher to bet on Chelsea. Loss after loss after loss after loss in the league. 6 consecutive Premier League losses for the first time since 1993. Look, Liam Rossini was obviously a failed experiment, but he wasn't the only reason why things were going wrong at Chelsea. He was a contributory factor, absolutely. But there's a lot wrong here, from the makeup of the squad, which has been built for resale purposes as opposed to on-field performance purposes. You've seen that so many times. It was so evident from the very beginning of the season there was not enough experience in this squad. To lose Enzo Maresca in the way they did was careless at best. From ownership, to lose one of the best managers currently working in English football, who'd delivered a few lower-level trophies for Chelsea's expenditure, but trophies nonetheless, and would have been on course to win a further trophy as well. And Callum McFarlane seems like a nice guy, but of course he's never going to be Chelsea manager. You've got players here who seem disinterested, and if not disinterested, are totally lacking in direction. Enzo Fernandez seems to want to leave. Cole Palmer has offered nothing across the season. Caicedo's had a poor campaign. Lavia have a little run of fitness, but what is Romeo Lavia at this point? I think they're a club looking for direction, and the players need a father figure, both on the field and in the dugout, that can only be addressed by ownership, and it can only be addressed in the summer. To this game, I wouldn't bet on Chelsea. You'd be a madman to do so. So you go for the Liverpool win as the home team at 1.94. And as we saw last week against Forest, if Liverpool score 1, I wouldn't expect a Chelsea crumble. One of my favourite bets, as you know, 1-0, 2-0 or 3-0 together, a really generous 5. Really generous for the form of these two teams. I'd even look at the handicap market here to double your money. Liverpool -1 comes in at double your money at 3. Struggling to see a Chelsea goal. It may well come from a Liverpool defensive lapse, but I did like Liverpool win to 0. Again, a really generous 4.33 based more on Chelsea than Liverpool. And if you're looking at players, the only player that stands out to me from either team is Rio Nkamoa of Liverpool, who is a young, talented academy product who came off the bench last week and nearly scored. Fun, exciting, pacey, skillful player in off the left. To score or assist in this game is 2. So beyond that, there's not any other player that I'd like to bet on really here, which is weird considering it's Liverpool-Chelsea.
Well, it is sad. Liverpool-Chelsea. Smart bet is going for Liverpool to win the first half. Odds are 2.3. 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗍, Liverpool to win and over 1.5 goals. Carbonaron, Liverpool to win, a safe bet. Well, someone is asking you if Palmer should go to the World Cup, Tom.
Oh, not in front of someone like Morgan Gibbs-White, and not in front of someone like even Jared Bowen, I would say. Certainly not in front of Saka and the starters. So at the moment, I think he's going to struggle to get on the plane.
Ooh, okay. I guess he has more chances than Trent Alexander-Arnold, for instance, to go to the World Cup this summer. Next one. This is a safe bet, guys. Brighton Wolves is only 1.34 Brighton to win, and they have to if they want to play European football next season. They lost to Newcastle. We expected a little bit more from them in that game, but they were in a really good run. And well, Wolves are relegated, so it's all about Brighton. They have Leeds next, and they are only 2 points away from Bournemouth. So the fight for the 6th spot is really interesting.
Yeah, we got a lot right last week on the show, including Forest winning at Chelsea. But this is the one that stunned me, Brighton against Newcastle. Like, I went for Brighton because Newcastle have been in awful form and Brighton have been picking up some really, really good results. I didn't see that first half coming where Newcastle could have been legitimately 7-0 up. They just flew at Brighton, who couldn't cope with it. Maybe the visit from the owner at Newcastle made a difference. I don't know. But across the season, across the more recent, broader form, victories over Chelsea and Burnley and Liverpool and the draw against Spurs, they played really well. They've been very creative, and a few players have really excelled, from Jack Hinchelwood and Minte, and Balaba's come into some belated form, Pascal Gross. Lots of players playing well for a Brighton side right now who are certainly energised going down the home straight, and they've won, I think, 8 home games this season, just 3 defeats. Look, they ain't going to lose here against a Wolves team who relegated with just 18 points from 35 matches, been pitiful across the campaign. Rob Edwards has won 3 of 24. There's talk of him maybe not staying now in the Championship, which is somewhat shocking, considering that he was sort of brought in to be the manager in the Championship so they could hit the ground running. And now people have turned on him because they've just been so rubbish, really, since that little run of home wins where they had Liverpool, West Ham and Villa. Beyond that, pitiful against West Ham away, same against Leeds, awful against Tottenham. Fought a bit against 10 men Sunderland last week, but Sunderland had 10 men for what, like an hour or something? Like, just didn't do anything. They're a Championship team with a Championship manager, with a few guys with a terrible attitude as well. People like Andre Gomez in midfield. Charlie big time in central midfield at the team bottom of the table with 18 points. You don't need that. He's got little legs. He can't play in this league, and they'll be glad when he's gone. So in this one, go for the Brighton win at 1.31. Not amazing odds. You can near double your money with Brighton to win 1-0, 2-0 or 3-0. Wolves just don't score many goals. They've scored 7 in 17 away matches this season. So a win to nil seems pretty good. On its own, 4-0 is 13. They lost 3-0 to Leeds and 4-0 to West Ham. So I think they'll get thumped again. That might be worth a look. And Jack Hinchelwood is in good form right now for Brighton. So in terms of players, I say Danny Welbeck every week, and it stopped coming in for me. Jack Hinchelwood is a guy who has scored against Chelsea and against Newcastle in the last couple of games. So follow that form. Anytime goal scorer, 3.25.
Well, this is, as I said, kind of a safe bet. Only 1.3. 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 1, 2, or 3-0. Asian handicap -2. Let's look for better games. Fulham Bournemouth is an interesting one. Look at these odds, really high on both ends. 2.8 for Fulham, 2.4 for Bournemouth. Difficult not to bet on Bournemouth. Actually, easy win against Crystal Palace, as expected. As you said, it's 10 points out of the last 12, unbeaten in a lifetime, and 6. So it's impossible, or I wouldn't bet on Fulham to win. A lot of option for Bournemouth. Even to play Champions League is very difficult, but still option.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you don't do is bet on Bournemouth to lose. I'm not saying they won't lose, but I'm saying I'm not going to bet on it. 15 games unbeaten is staggering, absolutely staggering, considering before this run, they were in some trouble. And there was a little upturn in form by those below them. And we thought, well, maybe they got to win a few games here. And that's exactly what they've gone and done. Incredible run of form, lots of draws, lots of wins. The biggest team in terms of draws in the Premier League this season with 16 and counting, which is extraordinary, but 7 defeats. Arsenal have lost 5. City have lost 5. Man United have lost 7, and so have Bournemouth. That's incredible. They've only lost 7 games this season. I mean, that's why you can't bet on Fulham to win. I think in terms of the chances of a Bournemouth victory, Krupi up front, 12 Premier League goals, look very, very good. I think he's been their outstanding player this season beyond Semenyo, who's left. Adams and Scott back in midfield gives a good balance. And Senesi and Hill, who were kind of the 3rd and 4th centre-halves sort of going into the season, have really been outstanding as the 1 and 2. So really good team, playing really well, really tough to beat. And I think you've got to go for draw or Bournemouth in this game. In terms of Fulham, I mean, weren't they appalling last week against Arsenal? Look, Arsenal were good. And if they play like that, they will beat anybody. We haven't seen it enough this season. But also Fulham just folded. And that tends to happen with Fulham when they get to the jaws of something possible. That's happened a lot to them under Marco Silva, and indeed historically, is a reason why they've never won any trophy ever as a club in terms of major trophies, is because they're a really good 12th place Premier League team. But when the opportunity emerges in the last couple of seasons to qualify for Europe, to do something interesting, they have just crumbled. And I don't know what that is, if it's a cultural thing, if it's the type of players they've got who are sort of big club players that have dropped down the level, like Wilson and Smith Rowe and Iwobi, etc. But I don't know. You can't back on Fulham. And without Alex Iwobi, I do think they've lost their best player as well. So screams draw at 3.89. I've mentioned already the Bournemouth run of draws, always back on Bournemouth to get something. Going to be pretty low scoring this. So under 3.5 goals in the match comes in at 1.53. Looking at Fulham 1-0 against Aston Villa. Looking at things like the 2-1 wins that Bournemouth have been on, the 1-1 draws they've had. Fulham have drawn 0-0 recently. So 2 good defenses, not many goals. 1-1 at 7.5. Seems like a nice little bet.
Well, Tom, while you were speaking, I felt an earthquake. I was scared, but it's okay. It's okay. It was a light one, very quick one, so we can
because
focus.
of my exciting analysis, or do you need to run for the hills?
Exactly. No, I want to hear your point on Bournemouth. I love.
It's not worth dying for, buddy. It's not worth dying for.
X2, David, and both teams to score. Everyone is going for both teams to score in this game. Next one is Sunderland, Man United. Not many things on stake here because Man United are going to play Champions League football. I think at the beginning of the season, if they've told us that they are going to finish 3rd, we wouldn't believe it. But it's not thanks to the former manager, but to Carrick and these quality players actually bringing Man United once again to the Champions League. Congratulations, they beat the rivals Liverpool, and now they are facing Sunderland in the Stadium of Light. Nothing to play for Sunderland. Maybe, Tom, the only thing is just to finish above Newcastle, but they are not in a good form as shown against Wolves. And remember, the last game at home was 5-0 to Forest.
Yeah, and I think Sunderland are going to need a rethink going into next season. I think the surprise element of some of these players is, of course, long gone. Regis Labris is an unknown quantity in the Premier League. That is now gone. Second season is always very, very difficult. So this summer going to be intriguing for them. Another year on the legs of Granit Xhaka as well could make a big difference. He's not come back the same player from his injuries picked up this season. But look, overall been good. They've still got goal threat in behind with Talby and Brobby, and maybe Xhaka will drop a first 6 months of the season performance in central midfield. But one or two significant injuries now started to catch up with the team who have achieved their goals. And I do think there'll be a little bit of a fire sale in the summer with Roos and Brobby and one or two others. I think there'll be some sales this summer and they've got to go again. They'll, of course, be thinking still, first season back in the Premier League, Man United at home. It's still a big event for everyone, despite the travails of Man United. And Man United have been great recently. Look, I'm still a bit surprised. There's so much narrative about, is Michael Carrick going to get the job? The question is, can you get Xabi Alonso? And can you get Thomas Tuchel? And if you can't, then you've got to give him the job. Because he's done it. Like, he came in and done a tremendous audition to move them from also-rans under that idiot Ruben Amorim to a very solid 4-2-3-1 team. Is he a bit Erik ten Hag? Maybe. Is he a bit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Maybe. But who's the better coach out there right now? And can you get him? I'm not hearing they're going to get one of the super coaches. I'm not hearing Antonio Conte is coming in or whomever. So I'm surprised they haven't offered it to him yet. I think this summer's going to be really interesting. Got to find a replacement for Casemiro. Got to find more legs in midfield because they'll be back in Champions League. So that means 2, maybe 3 midfielders got to come in. 2, maybe 3 centre-halves got to come in. But I think the attack's fine. 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗍𝗂 and Mbeumo, Šeško could do with a bench, sure. But the first team is pretty good. So an interesting game this. I think it'll be relatively even. But on recent form, I would just shade for Man United at 1.94. That's pretty good for Manchester United. Not many clean sheets in the last few weeks for both of these teams. 1 for Manchester United, same for Sunderland. So in the other 4 of the last 5, they've both conceded. So both teams to score yes at 1.62 seems quite nice. Bruno Fernandes continues to be the most creative player in the league with 30 big chances created. 1 away from the all-time Premier League assist record. To score or assist for him is 1.8. And if you are punting, don't discount the Sunderland win just because the odds are so good. Personally, I think a Man United win with the Bruno Fernandes assist. But on these odds, they have picked up some big home wins this season. Might be worth one.
Do you think the Man United want Arbeloa, for instance? Could be an option?
Yeah, I hear good things. He's a tactical genius.
Well, Man United to win and under 2.5 goals. Jack Reiner, Sunderland surprise. Man United on holidays, also Sunderland.
Maybe.
Are in Tenerife, I think, in this moment in time. Thinking he looks like a Man United fan, so he would go for Maresca. I think he would be a good option, actually.
I think Maresca is going to turn up on the other side of Manchester this summer. So I don't think you're going to be getting Enzo Maresca, I'm afraid.
Sky Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Sky Blues. Let's talk about them. Then Man
Look at
City.
us, professional segue. Look at that. We nailed it.
Of course, Man City, Brentford. And this is another tough game for Man City. They are still in the run, of course, but now they really need a miracle. It was a great game against Everton. We mentioned it in this channel that that game was very, very tricky indeed. And well, Doku finally saved a point. Once again, defensive mistakes, punishing Man City, the first and the second goal, especially. But be careful with this Brentford, because they are in the race for Europe. They are very dangerous. They are getting great results lately. Well, Tom, how do you see this one? You still think Man City have a chance to win the Premier League?
No, because Arsenal have got 3 squash matches coming up against 3 very beatable opponents with the confidence of being in the Champions League final. I just don't think they'll do it now. Which I did last week. I did, because I thought they would win at Everton, and the way they were cruising at 1-0 up, I just thought it was all coming in. A second goal was going to be on the horizon, and they get the victory there and come on to this one, because that's the Man City we've all been used to seeing. Still can't believe that Mark Gay mistake a few days on. I've barely seen him make a mistake in the, 7 or 8 years we've seen him at the top level. And that was a bad one, really bad one. All-timer for Mark Gay. I think he's blown the title race, frankly. There's always loads of factors, blah, blah, blah. But if you had to pinpoint one moment, there it is. Mark Gay caused a huge fluctuation in confidence for City. Everton capitalised brilliantly and probably should have won that game in the end. Don't expect many changes. There might be a more relaxed City, considering maybe there was a bit of pressure in the Everton game, which we saw. The lack of Rodri is also so significant. Like when that game goes to 1-1, Rodri gets hold of the ball, Rodri puts a foul in, Rodri boots it out, slows the game down, gets everyone to take a breath. And Nico Gonzalez is a good player, not Rodri. And that's a problem for Man City when the best player in the league is continually unavailable for you. When you need him on the field, he isn't there. And I think that was part of it last week. So, look, City is still going to finish second. They're going to finish a couple of points behind Arsenal. I expect them both now to win all games for what is left, and they'll lose by a couple of points. But good to see Jeremy Doku, as you mentioned, doing something in the Premier League consistently. You know, it's about time Jeremy Doku went from winger at Man City to star player, the player we all thought would happen when he was a young talent playing for Belgium a few years ago in Anderlecht. So, good team, goals in them, pressure off. And I think they'll be able to beat Brentford this weekend, who I didn't think were great against West Ham last week. The first goal shouldn't have stood against West Ham. That was a definite stamp down on Mavropanos. The referee didn't see it because he's stupid. I think that the Atara dive for the penalty, he's done that a lot this season. They've got a lot of pens this year, Brentford, doing exactly that, getting the box and jump to the ground. 10 penalties in one season is an insane number. So they're clearly intentionally trying to win penalties, and they're doing it really well. Third goal was a hammer blow as well. West Ham hit the post 3 times. Goal disallowed. Should have had at least 2 penalties. So everything swung in their favour last week. Struggling to see it happening again this week. I think their overall form going into last week was pretty dire. Plenty of draws, not many wins, and I'm not expecting much out of Brentford here. So take the Man City win at 1.41. I do think that City continue to leak soft goals, as we saw against Everton last week. I think it's 1 clean sheet in the last 4. So both teams to score yes, and then put City on top. That'll double your money. That comes in at 2.5, which is really generous. And then you've got the 2 top goal scorers in the Premier League facing each other. Erling Haaland on 25, Igor Thiago on 22. Anytime for Haaland is 1.5. Anytime for Thiago is double your money. And he scored 22 goals this season, so that's really good odds. And as I mentioned, 10 penalties awarded this season for Brentford. It's like one of their main tactics, along with the long throw. 2.38 for a penalty just to be awarded in this game. That's a pretty good bet when Brentford are playing.
Thiago and Haaland to score is Jack Rayner's tip. Okakbare City to win, and both teams to score. And if we go to our smart bet tool, which is very helpful for this game, we have under 3.5 goals is 1.83. By the way, yesterday the tool was correct in the 3 tips for PSG. Bayern Munich going for an under goals and going for PSG or draw. So there you go. The AI knows some things that we might not know. Who knows? Yeah. Next games, Tom. Now on Sunday, we have 4. Burnley, Aston Villa. This should be the game where Aston Villa finally wins. They are now +6 with Bournemouth, but in a bad moment in the Premier League. It's only 4 points out of the last 12. We know they are putting their efforts in the Europa League semi-finals against Nottingham Forest, but this Burnley is absolutely gone. So Emery has to go there and win.
Yeah, I mean, 1 second on Burnley. They've been going down for months and months and months. Disgraceful campaign in the Premier League. Offered nothing. And beyond Zian Fleming, there's nothing of note that I'll ever remember from this Burnley team. In terms of Aston Villa, last week was a disgrace. A really disgraceful performance against Tottenham Hotspur. And people were talking about the rotation, which I think is relevant. But the effort is what was astounding. They just didn't care. They just did not care. From the moment Tottenham took the lead, there was no intensity, there was no drive, there was no care about the game at all. And that came from Unai Emery, that comes from the players. They weren't bothered. They just were not bothered. And fair enough, like they'll wipe their mouths and move on. But great day for Tottenham, terrible day for West Ham, and not a great day for the integrity of the Premier League. Again, doesn't matter, whatever. But that's just the facts of it. Just because we accept the reality doesn't mean we can't mention it. We don't know how they've got on against Forest in midweek. As a West Ham fan, I personally hope they've lost 7-0. But if either way, I expect the strongest possible team here. And that means a return for Pau Torres, if fit. It means a return to Ollie Watkins to the starting 11. Tammy Abraham, super sub at best. I do think John McGinn being missing is so significant for Villa. Like, I think he's their most important player in so many ways, from captaincy to attitude. Scores important goals as well. And the versatility he offers too. They haven't had Kamara for so much of this season. Onana's been struggling with injury. The midfield of Onana, Kamara and Tielemans would have been fantastic for Villa and was at points this season, but they've been injured so much we just have not seen it enough. So we're not going to see it here as well, by the way. Onana's going to be missing and he might be out until a potential Europa League final if they have made it. So look, let's not waste too much time here. You can't bet on Burnley. You've got to go for Villa. So 1.63, absolutely take it. I do think there's a goal in Burnley. There's been a cheeky little goal in a decent chunk of their games recently, including the loss against Fulham, loss against Leeds. So both teams to score yes is 1.73. Bung that on with Villa and you'll get a double your money bet.
Away win 2-0. This one, Jack, this could be the worst game of the weekend. Wait, because perhaps it's the next one as well. It could be a really bad one. Crystal Palace, Everton, because this is a friendly game. Crystal Palace thinking in the conference, but not even that. In the conference final, not even in the semi-final. So just resting until that game in Leipzig, whereas Everton have nothing to play for. But, well, at least they entertained us against Man City after the defeats against West Ham and Liverpool. Tom, look at these odds. Not even the bookies know where this is going. Perhaps the only chance to win some money is going indeed for the draw.
Screams draw this game. Crystal Palace at home this season have struggled for victories. It's why their season in the league is pretty middling, really. 8 draws at home this season is pretty poor. 4 away draws for Everton across the campaign. And as you say, they've quite rightly focused on Conference League recently. Draw against West Ham, struggled against Bournemouth last week, pitifully. A couple of days on from playing against Shakhtar, and was at Krakow. So, you can't blame Palace. They've got a very thin squad with minimal rotation, and I think you'll see 60 minutes of Strand Larsen and 30 minutes of Mateta, or vice versa. You'll see 45 minutes of Pino and 45 minutes of Sarr if they're all fit. And they're just trying to navigate through the season. The league season's completely irrelevant for them. For Everton, they'll be annoyed because they should have probably got a different result in their last 3 matches. They've conceded post 90th minute stoppage time goals in each of their last 3, which has cost them a win against City, a draw against West Ham, a draw against Liverpool. That'll be a concern for David Moyes, why they aren't seeing these games out, because they're scoring goals, they're creating chances. I thought Danny Rawls was brilliant against Man City. I hadn't realised he was still there, considering he's done nothing all season, but came in and had a really big impact in that game. So, screams draw at 3.46. Both teams with little to play for. Everton maybe with a touch more than Palace. 0-0 or 1-1 together comes in at 4. I've already mentioned how many draws that Palace have got this season. If there is to be a winner, it will be close. Palace by 1 is 4.33. Everton by 1 is 4.33. If you do go for a winner, I would just shade for Everton with a bit more to play for and no game in midweek. But yeah, 0-0, frankly.
Okay, Palace will be tired after the game against Shakhtar, so both teams to score. Next one is Forest, Newcastle. Nottingham Forest now +6 with West Ham. Amazing form, great impact from Vitor Pereira since he got the job. Massive wins away from home against Chelsea, against Sunderland, even against Aston Villa in the semi-finals. First leg, 4 wins and 1 draw in the last Premier League games. And Newcastle finally bounced back, beating Brighton. But, well, it's all about Forest here, and also the impact of this second leg that we expect is going to be very tough in Villa Park. Tom, look at the odds also, perhaps because of the game, no? In midweek, the bookies don't trust that much Nottingham Forest, because if we judge just for recent form, we should go for the home team.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of Morgan Gibbs-White, if he's available for Thursday or the weekend, we don't know. I'm assuming following that head injury, he won't be. We'll find out, but that's what we have at the time we record this. That makes a massive difference. Like, he has been such a talismanic leading figure for Forest during this incredible run. I mean, I was talking about the relegation race recently, and I said what needs to happen is if you want to stay up, you've got to go on title-winning form. And right now, Forest and Leeds are both on title-winning form. It's not a relegation battle race. It's a title race in terms of win after win after win. That doesn't happen. And it's happening this season. And, West Ham have been on fine form, perfectly acceptable form for a team that are trying to stay in the league. But they've suddenly gone up against Barcelona and Real Madrid across the last 5 weeks, which they simply have been unable to keep pace with. And that's incredible credit to Nottingham Forest. When they lose people like Murillo, you think, I don't know, that 𝗗𝗜𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗔𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥 is not amazing, but he's come in and done a perfectly decent job. They changed, 7 or 8 players for Chelsea last week and ran away with that easily. 𝗗𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 coming back, as well as Chris Wood, has given them a goal-scoring threat they've lacked all season, which has been significant in the fact they've been down there anyway. So very solid, very confident, lots of rotation. Why not back them against the Newcastle team who, look, they were brilliant in the first half an hour against Brighton last week, and it was a required victory as well with the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia ownership over for the weekend. So, best behaviour, looked busy, and they certainly did. But across the campaign, it has been pretty dismal. I think Bruno Guimaraes coming back in for what feels like his swan song at Newcastle has given them a bit of solidity. I think going forward, Will Osula has been surprisingly effective in what's a more traditional 4-3-3 for Newcastle. They've tried a few things this season to try and make Walter Marder work and a few others work. This is what works. 2 wingers and a forward. We saw that last week. So tricky one this, because both teams have got reasons why they would struggle here. But I think on home form, and a Forest victory would take them above Newcastle here up the table. If they've won on Thursday, I'd expect them to win here. If they're lost on Thursday, there may well be a bit of a drop. But I can't bet on Newcastle, even with the performance against Brighton last week. The recent form beyond that has been appalling. It was a 4-match losing streak before that. So Forest win at a really healthy 2.71. I'd go for that. Then look at goals here. I'm surprised that a lot of the bets I found this morning were for not many goals. So pick a winner. I'd say Forest and over 1.5 goals. 3.25. I'm stunned by that. That's really, really good. Forest win over 2.5 goals is 3.75. I think you're going to get at least 2 goals in this game. Not great defenses. Both teams that will play to win. So go for the over and pick a winner. I'd say Forest.
Okay, even Hassan is telling us surely this is an under 2.5 goals.
We'll see, won't we?
Yeah, Hassan, what are you saying? Listen to Tom Rennie. Next game is the key game of the weekend. Maybe the key game of the season. West Ham Arsenal. Everyone expects Arsenal to win and to cruise in these last 3 games towards the Premier League title for the very first time in 20 years. Also, they've qualified for the 2nd Champions League final in their history. So it's an unforgettable season, that's for sure. But now they have to win the trophies and they have to compete in the final, not like they did in the League Cup. And also they have to win these 3 finals in the Premier League. First one against West Ham, but there are a lot of positives in the last games of Arsenal. Of course, the first one, a main one, I would say, is Saka back in the team, scoring the important goals. The team needed this differentiator. And now the Englishman is back also. Well, 𝗗𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is work in progress, especially against Fulham, keeping clean sheets, something that the team didn't do in the past few weeks. And let's see if they are able to beat West Ham. I read some of your tweets. I don't think you are optimistic anymore about West Ham. You are not happy about Nuno Espírito Santo. In the last 6 home games, Tom, just to give you some hope, is 3 draws and 3 wins for West Ham.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, they're going down because they won 3 of their opening 21 games. You don't survive with a record like that. And in another season, in the last season, in most of the last 15 seasons, what Nuno has been able to put together would have been enough for Premier League safety. Trouble is, there's been no 3rd worst team this year, worse than West Ham. I mentioned the run that Leeds and Forest have been on. That's the run West Ham needed to go on. 4 wins in 5, 5 wins in 5. If they'd have done that, they probably would have stayed in the Premier League for next season, but they haven't done that. They failed to win against Bournemouth. They failed to win against Man United. They failed to win against Crystal Palace. And that all culminated last week in what felt like the game that saw West Ham go down. They played fine enough against Brentford. Brentford weren't 3-0 better than West Ham, but everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, from an appalling decision to give that first goal, which was clearly a stand from Coyote on Mavropanos. The penalty, don't go to ground against Brentford because they're going to die for a penalty every time. And Diouf did, and the penalty was quite rightly given. They then hit the post, in the bar, then the post again. They should have had a penalty which wasn't given, another penalty which wasn't given, which was the foul on Pablo last week to not give that penalty was, I still can't believe it. I think every referee involved should get sacked on the spot for being unable to spot something like that. It's completely incompetent. But that's not why West Ham are going down. They're going down because of that 3 wins in 21. Couldn't turn around the home form early enough. You mentioned they have recently, give them a biscuit. It's majority of this group of players that have failed across the campaign. And look, I don't see anything here. I see a relegated team now. Like they would need to win probably all 3 of what's left. Leeds, Newcastle, and Arsenal to even stand a chance. And even then, I don't think they would, because I think Tottenham are going to win enough games to stay up from what they have left. So going through the motions now, and it'll be good from a personal perspective to say goodbye to a lot of these players. Hermansen, dog crap all season. Diouf can't defend. I saw a link with him to Man United this week, which I thought was hilarious. Absolutely, you can take him. Some of him had a good run of form, but across his 2 years there, hasn't really done it. And this Pablo, by the way, blimey, if he's a footballer, so am I. I mean, the ball control of a trampoline, just incredibly bad footballer. I read some story that Wrexham turned him down, and I can believe it as well. But Nuno spent money in the summer, in January even, to try and recover from, firstly, Graham Potter's awful start, but also, he was in charge since September. Nuno took over, and it was like he was on the Valium. So he was in a coma for the first 5 months and eventually got some results after January. So, I don't know, screw them, useless. In terms of Arsenal, look, they'll make a couple of changes, I think, from midweek. I would imagine Zubimendi will come in fit, having been replaced by Lewis Skelly in midweek. I'd expect a Trossard. I'd expect an Eze. Could even play Kepa in this game. West Ham are so useless. So there'll be some rotation from midweek, sure, but Arsenal win this comfortably. West Ham are useless, and Arsenal are the best team in the country, and they're going into the Champions League final. So 1.67 for an Arsenal win. Pretty good odds, actually. I mean, they have struggled at against West Ham in recent years. A couple of decent wins for the Hammers, but those were different days. Arsenal to win 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0 on its own is 3.25. Arsenal win to nil as ever is 2.88. Don't see West Ham scoring against this Arsenal backline. And West Ham will go down next week in the game against Newcastle when they lose that, and they won't even take it to the final day. And when they do, I want Nuno to resign on the spot. What a fraud.
Well, Tom, some hope from 𝗗𝗚𝗦𝗖𝗟𝗏. For instance, Arsenal will drop points here. Someone else, Rajib, Arsenal to win 2-0. Hassan, both teams to score, and plenty of drama. David manifesting for a West Ham win. Well, if West Ham wins this one, it will change absolutely everything in the Premier League. This is the game of the season, I would say. If everything goes as planned, West Ham gets relegated, Arsenal wins the trophy. But if there is a surprise, oh my God, what a couple of weeks that we have ahead of us. Let's check smart bet. Going for under, not many goals, under 3.5 goals, or under 2.5. Under 2.5 actually is 2.2. If we go back to the basics from Arsenal, 1-0, 2-0 defend, a score from a set piece, and this is over. And for Monday, we have Tottenham coming out from the world of death to us, to the alive ones. Tottenham Leeds, massive win against Aston Villa, and this one even playing well, having a lot of chances, controlling the game, and they won in Villa Park, completely different from the tense game against Wolves, but now it's back-to-back wins for Tottenham, and they have to win here. The bookies expect to beat Leeds. Leeds had a great reaction after losing the FA Cup semi-finals. Is 10 points in the last 12, plus 7 above West Ham. So, Tom, I think we can say Leeds are safe. Yeah. And now it's about Tottenham to win finally here. But there is always this sense of pressure when they are playing at home this season.
There has been, but not anymore. Roberto De Zerbi has come in and done what Nuno took 5 months to do, and he just sort of looked at the players and put them in their right positions. He profiled Conor Gallagher immediately. He profiled Richarlison immediately, Palhinha immediately, the fullbacks immediately. He didn't switch them around or do something stupid. He just put them in their right positions. asked what they were good at and asked them to go do that. And Conor Gallagher was phenomenal against Villa last week, doing what he does best, being an attack dog. So look, they've gone into a classic 4-2-3-1 formation. Gallagher behind Richarlison scoring goals and has pedigree when it comes to scoring the goals that keep the team up. He's done it previously with Everton. He's doing it again with Tottenham, the right sort of man to have in this sort of run. So I expect them to win here against the Leeds side, who 8 away draws this season is why they've stayed in the Premier League. They found themselves second half of the campaign incredibly tough to beat, and 1 or 2 injuries to the goalkeeper. I mean, it's incredible to me that Carl Darlow is going to stay in the Premier League another year. But I mean, how many times have we said it? This Leeds team is so much better than the sum of their parts. They're an incredible unit. The work rate has been fantastic since day one, from Stark and Tanaka and 1 or 2 others. They just run and run and run. Brendan Aronson too. So look, they're going to run hard here, and they're going to make it hard for Tottenham. This is not a team that gives up, Leeds United. So don't discount the draw at 4.2, considering Spurs overall travails at home and Leeds 8 away draws. But the Tottenham win at 1.9 seems irresistible, and Richarlison anytime at 2.63 feels like it's going to happen. Spurs win this 3 in a row. West Ham are down by next week. Did I mention that's annoyed me?
Well, let's see if they can handle the pressure of Tottenham to win and both teams to score 2-1. Well, Tom, this is it. Only 2 shows left until the end of the season, until the end of the Premier League. Remember, we still have our Premier League tipster competition finishing, of course, in a couple of weeks. So we will know the winners. We can check out the this is the May one in May. The Premier League. No, this is good. The Premier League. My mistake.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Premier League in May. You okay?
Exactly. Yeah. Because it goes by month by month, the tipster competition in the Premier League. Good point. Okay, let's finish the video, Tom, with your safe bet.
Safe bet. There's a few this weekend, but I'd take Brighton against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Brighton to beat relegated Wolves at home, 1.31.
And the mighty Aka?
Quadruple for us this week. So Brighton are in there to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers. Liverpool at home against Chelsea. City at home against Brentford. And Arsenal against soon-to-be relegated West Ham. 4.71.
If I'm not mistaken, your last Aka was correct?
It was indeed. I'm on a run.
Let's get advantage of it. Tom Rennie, see you next week. Bye-bye.